Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Now, the nature of this conversation we're about to have is such that I cannot say the words particularly, especially at the beginning of the video. YouTube has filters and things, it doesn't like it, and I don't want to run afoul of the rules. So I'm going to have to use alternative terms. So do bear with me while I use alternative terms rather than maybe the words you're seeing on the screen, but I can't say them out loud. So bear with me with that. Now, we are a political channel, and YouTube doesn't like them very much because it's controversial often. And so it pushes us down in the algorithm. And so when you hit subscribe and like, it massively, massively helps the channel. It helps us grow, it helps us spread, it helps us get the message out there and the truth. So if you're one of our regulars who has yet to subscribe, please do subscribe now. We're coming up on a very nice target, which I'd like hopefully to hit in the next few days. And so if you could help us and get there, hit that subscribe button, help the channel grow, that'd be super. Now, what we're talking about here is, and I'm going to be honest before we get to it, it's a subject that I'm not entirely sure which side of the fence I stand on. Perhaps going through the article, I may come down one side or the other. I think the principle of it is fine, but I think the message it sends is wrong. But we will have a look. And what we're talking about here is a safe space for users of certain illegal substances to be whilst consuming those substances so that they are free from harm. They're harming themselves, obviously, but they're free from harm from other people, and there's medical people on standby and things like that. It's very difficult, but we will talk about it. But as I say, bear with the terminology. I don't want to run afoul, as I say, of the YouTube rules. So anyway, we'll have a look. Here goes. So the UK's first safe substance consumption room in Glasgow has been approved. It's not there yet, but it's been approved and it will be built. The £2.5 million facility is planned for Glasgow's East End and will allow users to take their own content. They have to bring, you can't buy it there. You have to bring your own to it in a hygienic environment with medical staff on hand. Now, first of all, £2.5 million is a lot of money. That could be used better spent perhaps in the NHS itself rather than this. However, the argument is also that if you can stop people needing to use the NHS because of their consumption, you'll save that money. So it is a bit of a 50-50 on that. Better not leave the paraphernalia on the screen. They don't like that. You also have the issue that it doesn't send a message. It's like saying, we condone the use. Again, that's a bad thing. On the other hand, if you are providing a safe space for people who would do it anyway, and it gets them off the streets, then it's a good thing. Do you see how controversial this is? Because there is good and there is bad, and you have to it's a balancing game. Anyway, we'll go up and I'll just whiz past that. They don't like paraphernalia being shown. So the UK's first consumption room for users to take these substances under medical supervision has been approved. The 2.3 million, I think it's 2.5, and 2.3 it'll probably be by the time it's built, £2.5 million facility is planned for Glasgow's East End and would allow users to take their own substances in a hygienic environment with medical staff on hand. First proposed in 2016, following an HIV outbreak in the city, the development of the consumption rooms has been embroiled in years of political wrangling between the Scottish and UK governments. But earlier this month, Scotland's most senior law officer, Lord Advocate Dorothy Bain Casey, announced it would not be in the public interest to prosecute people using a facility. Now, that needs to be addressed because what happens here is the use of these substances, even the possession of these substances, obviously is illegal. Their use is illegal. And so providing a room for people to commit an illegal act is in itself a bit dodgy in terms of the law. And indeed, this is one of these where, again, it's going to be controversial because by providing somewhere for these people to do it, the Scottish government is technically aiding and assisting the breaking of laws, which could make them liable. Now, if you think about this, let us say that someone goes into this facility, uses what they're using, and still manages somehow to kill themselves accidentally. We're not talking about self-ending, but accidents happen. the family could the family take them to court and argue that had the facility not been available, they may not have used it, and therefore the facility itself has aided in this person's death. And if so, and this is a facility bought, paid for, owned by the Scottish Government, then the Scottish Government would be complicit in a death of a user. Do you see the legality problems here? It is a bit of a very, very grey, murky area. Now, Dorothy Bain has effectively said, look, we know that what goes on there is illegal. And UK law is very specific that it is illegal. And this is one of those that the Scottish Government cannot change. This is at a higher level. They can't change it. But what they're saying is, yes, we agree it's illegal, but we're not going to police it in this occasion. And so that, again, is the problem. In order for this to happen, they have to admit that it's illegal. And they're having to admit that they are permitting illegal acts. And again, would that be a law, something that could be brought to court if someone is admitting that they are allowing illegal acts? Surely that is a contempt of the law charge. It's a very, very complex situation. Anyway, the pilot project planned for Hunter Street in the same building as a current treatment facility was approved by the Health and Council officials at Glasgow City Integration Joint Board. That's the title, isn't it? And this was this morning. The board involves NHS and council officials and recommended approval of the scheme in a report. And the report states there is overwhelming international evidence which demonstrates that safer consumption facilities can improve the health, well-being and recovery of people who use the facility. And I'm all for people being safe. We know these people are going to use it, and I'm all for them being safe. I'm just concerned about the legality of certain things and the messaging of certain things. And it does, over time, save a lot of money, because you can get these people controlled. They're not ending up costing far more in sort of other care areas where they eventually do end up costing a lot of money if you can just get them here and get them sorted. It's one of these 50-50 things. Anyway, it highlights that following the HIV outbreak, an assessment found there could be approximately 400 to 500 people putting these substances into themselves in public places in Glasgow city centre on a regular basis. And it adds, putting these in public spaces increases the risk of infection and other related harms, and also causes a risk to the public from discarded equipment. The Scottish Government backs the plans, but some MSPs have raised concerns about the impact on the local area, including on businesses. Yeah, because you're going to have now like a little queue of people standing outside there, these addicts and that, all sitting there, standing there, waiting, my turn. It's going to very, very much impact the local area. I think for something like that, it needs to be more controlled. The principle of it, I agree. I do agree with the principle of it. I just think that the way they've gone about this is perhaps a bit dodgy. But I'm also concerned with the legality of what could happen afterwards. It's a very, very complex issue. And I don't know if where is it? Hunter Street. I don't know if Hunter Street is purely business or if there are people living there. It would surely impact people who are resident in Hunter Street. Again, I don't know Hunter Street, so I couldn't comment on it. Anyway, the record has led the way for campaigning for Scotland's substance abuse crisis to be taken seriously by politicians and treated as a public health emergency. I don't know about emergency, it's a public health issue for sure, and it does need some attention. The country still has the highest number of deaths from misuse of these substances per head of population in Europe. It's the death capital of Europe for this. And this is despite the annual total recently dropping to its lowest level since 2017. Yeah, the number dying has dropped, but it's still the highest in Europe. So it's falling from a very high level to a very quite not so high. Has only fallen a little bit. But, it is sad. But then, if you look at what's happening in Scotland, it's no wonder these people are doing this. Because what else have they got? This is the SNP has overseen the running down of Scotland over many years, so it's not surprising that this sort of stuff goes up. When you're in a super fun economy, it's other product that gets used. We're talking little marching powder from Colombia. In a booming economy, that tends to use, and in a failing economy, it tends to be, the poppy stuff. God, you've got to be careful with how you pronounce these things and say these things. But basically, that's always been the way around the world. Like in the 80s, the white stuff was great because it was booming. Then the beginning of the 90s, it went down because, the whole world into recession. And, golden brown was very popular then. Anyway, I shall finish there and come up and we'll finish it off. But I would love to know what your views are on it. But we'll address that when we come up. So, to round off and sort of come to some kind of conclusion, I think in principle I'm for it. However, I'm concerned because, of course, it's the SNP and everything they do turns absolute failure and makes things worse. So I'm very concerned that this has come through via the SNP. We don't know what sort of fallout there's going to be from it. And then, as I say, you've got you're sending out the message that you're kind of decriminalising it. And that's been a failure wherever that's been tried. So, it's a very complex issue, isn't it? But let me know. Please do. Let me know in the comments whether you think it's a good idea or not. Whether you agree in principle or not, that would be, rather than this specific one. Let's not focus on this specific room. Just talk about the idea in the round, in the general. Are these rooms a good idea or not? Let me know. That'll be interesting to see. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope this has been informative. Do please hit the subscribe button. As I say, it massively helps the channel as a whole. But also, we're getting very close to a target, which was always nice to reach. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, stay out of the gutter. And if you are going to indulge, always keep yourself well safe. Bye.